You sit down to do something that should take 20 minutes. You look up, and 2 hours have disappeared. Or the opposite happens. You are waiting for something, watching the clock, and 60 seconds stretches into what feels like an entire afternoon. Neither version of time is accurate. Both feel completely real. And the reason your brain keeps getting this so badly wrong is one of the more revealing things you can learn about how your mind actually works. Most people assume time perception is straightforward. Clocks tick at a fixed rate, your brain notices the ticks, you experience the passing of time. That feels like the obvious explanation. It also has almost nothing to do with what's actually happening. Your brain doesn't experience time the way a clock measures it. It constructs time. It estimates it. It builds your sense of how long something took out of indirect cues. And those cues are far more unreliable than you've ever been told. To understand how this works, you have to understand what your brain is actually doing when it tracks time at all. There is no single dedicated time organ in the brain, no unified clock ticking away in one place. Instead, your sense of time emerges from the interaction of multiple systems that were never built to measure duration specifically. They were built for other purposes entirely. And time perception is a byproduct of how they function. Neuroscientist David Eagleman has spent years studying this system and describes what your brain actually uses as a kind of internal pacemaker, a neural process that pulses at a rough background rate while an accumulator tracks how many pulses have passed. But crucially, the rate of that pacemaker is not fixed. It speeds up and slows down, depending on a range of factors that have nothing to do with actual clock time. One of the most powerful factors is attention itself. When you are deeply absorbed in something, your attention is directed entirely outward, toward the task, the screen, the conversation, the problem you're solving. Your brain's internal time-tracking system is running in the background, but almost none of your cognitive resources are allocated to it. The accumulator keeps running, but you're not checking it, not consciously monitoring it, not updating your model of how much time has passed. And when you finally do look up, your brain has to estimate the duration of what just happened retroactively using a shortcut. How much do I remember? How much happened? This is where it gets genuinely strange. Memory and time are deeply intertwined in a way most people never notice. Psychologist William Friedman and others who study time memory have found that the brain uses the density of memories as a proxy for the passage of time. When a lot happened, when there were many distinct events and moments and changes to register, your brain concludes that a lot of time must have passed. When very little was encoded, when the experience was repetitive or seamless or absorbing without generating new, distinct memories, your brain concludes that not much time passed at all. This is why a week of novel experiences on a trip to somewhere new feels long and full when you look back on it, while a week of identical routine at home disappears without a trace. Now here's the paradox. Those same novel experiences, while they're happening, tend to fly by. The absorbing vacation day feels fast in the moment. The boring, repetitive Tuesday stretches endlessly while it's occurring. The same psychological mechanisms produce opposite effects depending on whether you're measuring time prospectively, while you're inside it, or retrospectively after it's over. When you're inside the boring Tuesday, you have nothing to do but pay attention to time itself. You monitor it constantly. Every few minutes you check, and each check reveals only a small amount of time has passed, which makes the wait feel proportionally longer. Psychologist John Weirden, who has studied duration estimation for decades, describes this as the watched pot phenomenon. Attending to time directly causes you to experience it as moving slowly. The more cognitive resources you dedicate to tracking time, the more time seems to drag. What this reveals is something counterintuitive about your relationship with experience. The moments that feel longest in the living are often the ones that leave the smallest trace in memory. And the moments that feel shortest while they're happening, the absorbed ones, the flow states, the hours that vanish, are paradoxically the ones that build the richest sense of a life fully lived when you look back. There's one more layer to this, and it changes with age in a way that most people feel deeply but rarely understand. You've probably noticed that time seems to accelerate as you get older. Summers felt endless as a child. Decades now feel like months. This isn't nostalgia or imagination. It has a cognitive explanation that researchers have been piecing together for years. As a child, almost everything is new. Every experience is a first or close to a first. Every week generates large amounts of novel memory content, which means the brain estimates a large passage of time. As you age and your environment becomes more familiar, your brain filters out more and more of what it already knows. Familiar things don't need to be encoded in detail. The routine doesn't generate new memories the way novelty does. And so, the density of memories per unit of time decreases, the brain's retrospective estimate of duration shrinks, and years begin to feel shorter than months once did. Neuroscientist Claudia Hammond, who wrote extensively about what she calls the time paradox, found that this acceleration isn't inevitable in the sense that it can be slowed. The mechanism is novelty and memory density, which means the most reliable way to make your life feel longer, richer, and more substantial when you look back on it isn't to simply live more years. It's to deliberately introduce more first experiences, more novelty, more moments that force the brain to encode something it hasn't seen before. A new route home, a skill you've never attempted, a conversation with someone whose experience of the world is nothing like yours. These aren't small things. They are the material your brain uses to build your sense of a life that lasted. Psychologist Mark Whitman, who has studied time perception and consciousness, found one additional piece of evidence that ties this all together. People who are more aware of their own bodily sensations, their heartbeat, their breath, their physical state in the present moment, tend to have better time perception and a more vivid sense of now. The body, it turns out, is part of the clock. Your interoceptive awareness, your sense of what's happening inside you right now, anchors you to the present in a way that sheer cognitive attention doesn't. When you are truly present in your body, time feels neither too fast nor too slow. It feels like it's actually happening. That sensation, the feeling that time is moving at exactly the right rate, that you're neither racing past your life nor trapped inside a single slow second, turns out to be one of the rarest and most human experiences available to you. And it isn't a mystery, it's a skill, a function of where your attention goes, how much novelty you let in, and whether you remember occasionally to check in on the only clock that has never needed winding. You sit down to do something that should take 20 minutes. You look up and 2 hours have disappeared. That wasn't a glitch. That was your brain, building time out of the materials you gave it and doing exactly what it was designed to do. The question isn't how to make the clock more accurate. It's whether you want to give your brain better material to work with.